the MMA world is changing so fast. The level of athlete is moving in such a fast direction. These guys keep getting better and better and better and better and better, and they're all getting better. So it's hard to tell. But when you compare like a top level athlete of today versus a top level athlete of 20 years ago, that's when you see these stark, gigantic differences. When the UFC started in '93 in comparison to 2016, it's just stark, crazy differences.
Which you're not going to see guys stay at the top as long, you think?
Well, some guys can, or some girls can, depending on how good they are. Some people just have massive advantages that are very difficult to overcome, like Anderson Silva when he was in his prime. Anderson Silva had a massive advantage in timing and speed and creativity and striking, whereas he could defend himself on the ground. He was difficult to take down, and when he got him down, he's pretty good defensively with his guard, but standing up, he's a goddamn genius. He was a virtuoso, and he would just like move on you and do weird shit to you, and then blam! Catch you with a front kick to the face or something, and he would time you, figure you out, find your distance, and then land some crazy shit on you and fuck you up. And he did it to so many people. So when a guy like that is at the top, he's so truly exceptional at one particular aspect of the game. A lot of times they can go on a good run. So it's hard. It's hard for people to go on a run. Like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson's probably on like the longest run as a champion now, I think. Is he on the longest run? The most wins as a champion? I think he might be like right up there with Anderson in the most wins. And then maybe John Jones is in there too.
What weight is he? He's
the smallest guy. He's 125. He's the flyweight champion. But he's in my opinion, he's the best pound for pound guy. Because if you look at he's definitely smaller than the other guys. He can move differently because he's not so weighed down by gravity. So it's very difficult to look at his movements and say, well, you could compare him to a guy like Fabricio Verdum, who's 240 pounds. Like Fabricio's just more hampered down by gravity. Like his body just has to push around so much more. There's no way he can move with the kind of fluidity that a guy like Mighty Mouse can.
And what's the biggest guy that Mighty Mouse will fight?
So Anderson Silva, 10-fight win streak, and Demetrius Johnson is at 8, right below George St. Pierre, which is at 9.
He's at 9 now, I think. This is as of July.
Oh, okay. So Demetrius defended his title again recently, so he's tied with George St. Pierre for second place. So that's, like a guy like Anderson, perfect example. Super tough. John Jones, another one, perfect example. John Jones is a ridiculously talented athlete. So when you have these really, really talented guys, like extreme outliers, they tend to be able to go on rolls. Also because when you fight them, it's terrifying. Because you're stepping in there with the alpha. You're stepping in there with Anderson Silva in his prime, and he bows to you, and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck have I got myself into?
Yeah.
You can pump yourself up for it and get yourself thinking like, I'm the fucking man now. But when you're actually across the street from the man, and you're looking at each other eye to eye, and you realize, that's Anderson motherfucking Silva.
Yeah.
I'm about to step into the octagon, rather, with the best ever.
You're doing a handstand on the edge of a tall building.
So it's hard for them to get over that. It takes a super strong mind just to be able to fight at your best. Whether or not your best is even good enough, that's another aspect of the fight. Whether or not your best is good enough is really secondary, because you're not going to be able to be at your best. You're going to be so freaked out and so fucking nervous. Your timing's going to be off. Your adrenaline is going to be fucking pumping through your veins. You might get an adrenaline dump, so you might tire out in the second round. You got to manage your resources. You got to manage your anxiety, and you're facing a goddamn ninja, like a real live superhero character.
And he's seeing all of those weaknesses in you.
He sees everything. He sees everything too when you start moving around. When you would move around with him, he would move around with you, and he would see how you move, whether or not you move slow. He would take his time. He would take his time and then just open up on guys. It's fascinating to watch him, man, because he would dissect guys. You'd see him dissecting guys. He'd be bouncing around and moving. He would change his footwork. He would throw a little fake your way and see how you react. You go, I could have hit you right there. Okay, I see what's going on here. And then you do some stuff at him. He's like, no, not today. Not today with that. And you would see him doing all these calculations in his mind and setting up traps. And then somewhere in the second round, he would attack. And when he was in his prime, it was just stunning to behold. Here he is right now. Look at it. He's standing in front of this guy, hands down, and he just barely moves his head out of the way. He's like just timing him, just trying to figure out, and then plop, pops him with a jab and drops him. I mean, you're watching all this in slow motion too, unfortunately. But this was when he fought Yushin Okami. I mean, he was just an assassin back then. He was so good. That's when he was the middleweight champion. And he was just lighting people up in there, man. If you
So
go
he'll
to,
let
go
a
to,
guy
like,
he'll let a
Anderson
guy
Silva
get up
highlight
because he's
reel.
better on his feet.
I didn't give a fuck, dude. Go to Anderson Silva highlight reel. See if you can find that. He didn't give a fuck. If you were on your feet, like, you were gonna get knocked out against him in his prime. It was his attitude. He would stand with anybody. I mean, his stand-up was so exceptional.
But he's still fighting.
Yeah, he's still fighting, but he's 40 or 41 now. And that's the only fucking thing in the world that's undefeated is Father Time, man. Just check this shit out. This is him when he was in his prime. Look, he just slides out of the way and drops that dude with a punch. I mean, he just had a way of moving. Let's see. Just see if you have like a highlight reel, not just this one fight. Oh, it's a highlight tribute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. But it's just the same fight a couple times in a row. This guy had a real good chance against him. Travis Luter. This is a bunch of people that he fought. They're showing. He was so goddamn good. That's Travis Luter caught in the triangle, getting elbowed in the head. He just was, at that time in particular, he was the next level of striking, because we had never seen anybody who had like real world-class striking skills in the middleweight division like Anderson did. He just had, especially in particular,
His
MMA
feet
striking
are just
skills.
grounded. His balance is amazing.
Well, he was just exceptional, truly exceptional, and physically strong for sure. But the big thing about Anderson wasn't like how big he was; it was just how technical he was, and how brilliant his ability to figure guys out was. This was a guy he fought named Lee Murray. And Lee Murray is a guy who put on the biggest bank robbery in the history of Great Britain. That guy stole hundreds of millions of dollars, allegedly, from a bank and is in jail, I think in Morocco now because of it. But he was an assassin too, and they two met up, and Anderson Silva lit him on fire.
Yeah.
Just fucked him up. Just stood right in front of him, leg kicked the shit out of him, beat his ass, took his best shots. He was so good.
So are you friends with Silva?
I know him. I see him. He doesn't speak English that good, but I always give him a hug when I see him. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
And again, he's the greatest of all time. If you're a fan of the sport, in my opinion, like that guy when he was in his, like whatever, there's like a few year period where someone can exist at the highest of RPMs. And when he was in the highest of RPMs, the argument is really between him and maybe Fedor Emelianenko, who fought in Pride. I think Fedor is a real possibility. Like I definitely could see the argument that he was #1 instead of Anderson. But it's really like, who the fuck knows? They fought in different organizations. They fought different people. You know, I think the talent level is probably a little bit better in the UFC, but it's arguable that it wasn't, because, you know, he was fighting Krokop in his prime and Nogueira in his prime, and Fedor fought some of the all-time greats at their best and beat him. So it's arguable that he fought a tougher range of opponents. So maybe it's arguable that Fedor's accomplishments are more impressive because the opposition he fought was bigger, more dangerous. You know, he fought Krokop when Krokop was just an assassin, just smashing people, knocking everybody dead. And he walked him down and out-kickboxed him. Mostly. That's mostly what the fight was about.